Hello students, welcome to the second part of comparison and selection of NDT methods. Myself Shankho Ghosh, Assistant Professor of Automobile Engineering Department at Dr. Sudhir Chandra Sood Degree Engineering College under the JIS group. Today we will discuss the second part of the comparison and selection of NDT methods, which is the module number 9 of the subject non-destructive testing and application. This is the 7th semester automobile engineering students subject, and the subject code is AUE 7045A. So in the previous section we'll discuss the various types of defects. We'll today discuss the continue of these defects and the various methods for selecting the NDT testing. So students, let's start the today's class on comparison and selection of NDT methods part 2. In the earlier we discussed about the welding defects, and there are the variety of defects occur in welds. They are gas inclusion, slag inclusion, lack of fusion, lack of penetration, cracks, tungsten inclusion, undercut, burn through, and root pass oxidation. So students, let's start with this gas inclusion. Gas inclusion. Gas may be formed in molten weld metal. The gas may be formed in molten weld metal for various reasons and may get trapped if there is not sufficient time for it to escape before solidification. The trapped gas is usually The trapped gas is usually in the form of round holes, termed porosity, or the blowholes, or of an elongated shape called piping or worm holes. Gas formation may be caused by chemical reaction during welding, high sulfur content in plate and or electrode, excessive moisture in the electrode or in base plate edges, too short an arc, incorrect welding current, wrong polarity, etc. The type of porosity within a weld is usually designed by the amount of distribution of the pores. Some of the types are classified as follows, that is uniformly scattered porosity, cluster porosity, and linear porosity. So what is the uniformly scattered porosity? This is characterized by pores scattered uniformly throughout the weld. What is the cluster porosity? This is characterized by cluster of pores that are separated by porosity free area. A linear porosity, this is characterized by pores that are linearly distributed. This generally occurs in the root pass and is associated with lack of penetration. Next one is slag inclusions. Slag inclusions are oxides and other non-metallic solid material that are entrapped in the weld metal or between the weld metal and the base metal. In most cases, the sources of slag inclusions are the material covering the electrodes or fluxes employed in arc welding operations. In multi-layer welding operation, failure to remove the slag at the end of each pass will result in entrapment of slag inclusion in this zone. Slag inclusions are frequently associated with the lack of penetration, poor fusion, oversized root faces, too narrow a groove, and faulty electrode manipulation. Next one is the lack of fusion. The lack of fusion or incomplete fusion is caused by the failure of complete fusion of well metal and the base metal or inter well passes. The lack of fusion can occur at side wall or in the interpass region. Sorry. Lack of penetration. Frequently, the root of a well will not be adequately filled with welded metal and a void is left. This inadequate penetration may be caused by too small a root opening, too large an electrode, insufficient weld current, excessive welding speed, improper groove preparation, etc. In joints requiring complete penetration, this type of defects is generally not acceptable and require its complete removal and re-welding. Next is cracks. The cracks are linear ruptures of metal under stress. Although sometimes wide, they are often very narrow separation in the well or adjacent base metal. Usually little deformation is apparent in the cracked region of the well. Cracks can occur in a well in a wide variety of shapes and types, and it can be located in numerous positions in and around the welded joint. Cracks associated with welding may be categorized according to whether they originated in the well itself or in the base metal. Generally, four types of cracks occur in the well metal. That are transverse, longitudinal, crater, and the hot cracks. The base metal cracks can be divided. Into the 7 categories. So these are transverse cracks, underbead cracks, toe cracks, root cracks, lamellar tearing, delaminations, fusion line cracks. Now we discuss on the transverse cracks. The transverse cracks lie in a plane normal to the axis of the weld. These cracks are usually open to the surface. They usually extend across the entire face of the weld and sometimes propagated into the base metal. They are a result of high residual stresses induced by the thermal cycling during the welding. High hardness of the parent metal, excessive restraint, and the presence of hydrogen promote their formation. Next is underbead cracks. They are similar to the transverse cracks. They form in the heat affected zone. Because of high hardness, excessive restraint, and the presence of hydrogen. Their orientation follows the contour of the heat affected zone. Their orientation follows the contour of the heat affected zone. Next one is longitudinal cracks. Three types of longitudinal cracks are possible. Three types of longitudinal cracks are possible. They are check cracks open to the surface and extend from the root from some point within the well. Root cracks extend from the root to some point within the well, and full centerline cracks extended from root to the face of the well. So these are the three possible longitudinal cracks. The longitudinal cracks are usually oriented perpendicular to the well face and run along the plane that bisects the welded joint. Check cracks are caused either by build-up of high concentration stresses in the weld joint, particularly in the final passes, or by a hot cracking mechanism. Root cracks are the most common form. The root cracks are the most common form of longitudinal weld metal cracks. Because of the relatively small size of root pass. If such cracks are not removed, they can propagate through the weld during subsequent passes. This is the usual mechanism by which full centerline cracks are formed. Next one is crater cracks. Crater cracks are caused by failure to fill the crater before breaking the arc. When this happens, the outer edges of the crater cool rapidly, producing stresses sufficient to crack the interior of the crater. Crater cracks may be oriented transversely or longitudinally, or they may occur as a number of intersecting cracks forming the shape of a star. Hat cracks. Hat cracks derive their name from the shape of the weld cross section with which they are usually associated. So this type of weld flares out near the weld face and resembling an inverted hat. Hat cracks are the result of using excessive voltage or too low a welding speed. The hat cracks are the result of using excessive voltage or too low of welding speed. The cracks are located about halfway up through the weld and extend into the weld metal from the fusion line of the joint. So this type, next is root or toe cracks. This type of cracks can occur at the notches present in the weld when high residual stresses are present. Both toe and root cracks propagate through the heat affected zone before they are arrested in region of the base metal. Characteristically, they are oriented almost perpendicular to the base metal surface and run parallel to the weld axis. Next is the laminar tearing. This is a phenomenon that occurring in T-joints where the web plate is welded on both sides by employing full penetration weld. The stresses developed by this configuration result in separation that takes place in the base metal between the roots of the two welds extending in a plane parallel to the surface of the base metal. Such a discontinuity is often associated with the lamination or other planes of weakness in the metal. Such a discontinuity is often associated with lamination or other plane of weakness in the metal. It is characterized by step like tear and is caused by the shrinkage of the weld bit, thus stretching the base metal through its thickness. This results initially in decohesion of non-metallic inclusion and then ductile tearing at about 45 degrees between the adjacent non-metallic inclusion to produce the step-like tears. A laminar tearing can occur outside the heat affected zone, 5 to 10 mm below the fusion phase. Next is tungsten inclusion. In the gas tungsten arc welding, or GTW process, the occasionally touching of the electrode to the work or to the molten weld metal, particularly in manual operation or use of excessive currents, may transfer particle of the tungsten electrode into the weld metal. These are called the tungsten inclusion. Next is undercut. This discontinuity occurs when the welder has melted and flushed out some of the parent metal in the line of fusion. An undercut, therefore, is a small groove running parallel to the weld at its edge. It may be continuous or intermittent. The undercutting may be caused by excessive welding current, incorrect arc length, high speed, incorrect electrode manipulation, etc. The next is the burn through. A burn through area is that portion of the weld bit where excessive penetration has caused the weld pool to be blown into the pipe or vessel. It is caused by factors such as high current, slow rod speed, and incorrect rod manipulation. These factors lead to excessive heat in a particular area. Next is the root pass oxidation. Oxidation is the result of insufficient protection of the weld and heat affected zone from the atmosphere. Severe oxidation of stainless steel can reduce corrosion resistance if the joint is not adequately purged with an inert gas. Grinding cracks. The grinding cracks are caused by stresses which are built up from excessive heat generated in between the grinding wheel and the material. So these cracks occur on the surface of the material at right angle to the direction of rotation of the grinding wheel. Next is heat treatment cracks. Heat treating is basically the process of obtaining a microstructure with desired properties like strength, hardness, ductility, impact strength, etc. of a material by controlled heating and cooling. While heat treating, unequal cooling between light and heavy section while heat treating, the unequal cooling in between the light and heavy section of a part result in a buildup of stress leading to cracking. These cracks are called heat treating cracks. Next is the defect which is introduced during the service. The response of metallic materials during service life can vary widely as a function of chemical composition. The response of metallic material during service can vary widely as the function of chemical composition, thermal treatment, mechanical working, service conditioning, presence of discontinuity, and other material characteristics. NDT personnel need familiarity with these material characteristics in order to evaluate their suitability for service. Products that need careful testing and evaluation are those used in load carrying application, operating at high temperatures and corrosive environments, where failure may involve complete replacement or excessive repair of the component or danger to other products, structure, and the human life. The causes of material failure. The products and the structures may be subjected to a number of varying service conditions. Imposed load may be static or dynamic. The imposed load may be static or dynamic. The environment may contribute to corrosion vibration. Temperature and pressure higher to lower than the normal. The vibration, temperature and pressure higher to lower than normal, etc. The product may also be subjected to abuse. The mechanical failure is always a result. Of presence of stresses above some critical value, leading to deformation or the fracture. Such excessive stresses are set up by some combination of material defect, excess load, improper load application, and design error. Some of the important causes of material failures are dynamic load, static loads, dynamic load, service at high temperature, stresses above elastic limit, corrosive environment, vibration and abuses. So let's start with this static load. The principal reasons for failure under static loads include large discontinuity, poor dimensional control during the manufacturing, overloading during use, etc. So the principal reason for failure, the principal reasons for the failure under the static loads that includes large discontinuities, poor dimensional control during the manufacturing and overload during the use, etc. Next is the dynamic loads. Dynamic loads are varying loads that can be unidirectional or a multidirectional. Multidirectional loading is a more severe condition to cause a failure. When the cycles of loading become high, failure can occur at stress levels far below. The failure can occur at stress levels far below those determined by the static load tests. Next is service of high temperature. Service at high temperature reduce the allowable value of most of the desirable material property, including the ability to support load due to phenomena like creep, thermal fatigue, etc. The effect of creep also increases with increased temperature. The effect of creep also increased with the increase of temperature. The temperature at which properties value that becomes critical, that is depends upon the particular material and the previous treatment it has received. Next is stresses above elastic limit. Stresses above the material's elastic limit may cause material flow, distortion and cross-sectional weakening. These effects get further intensified at elevated temperatures. Now next is the corrosive environment. The corrosive environment or corrosion due to a combination of selective materials in contact can produce failure in two ways. Corrosion may actually reduce the amount of material. Available to carry the load. But even more important, in many cases, the corrosion may create small discontinuities which serve as stress risers. These stress risers become the nuclei for initiation of fatigue failure. The combined influence of stress and corrosion environment may lead to stress corrosion cracking, hydrogen embrittlement, etc. Next is the vibration. Many structures and systems are subjected to vibration. During their service, such as transportation equipment, machines and devices that have moving parts. In addition, some structures may vibrate because they are excited by some outside influence. Stresses from vibration may be superimposed on the stresses from other loading sources. The principal problem created by vibration, the principal problem created by vibration is the introduction of cyclic loading, leading to high cyclic fatigue failure. The next is the abuses. Excessive loading from abuse may be accidental. Many a time it may be due to human error. Abuse is controlled by use of factor of safety in design, usually based on yield strength or fracture mechanics concept. The factor of safety ranges from slightly more than 1 to 5 or more depending on the criticality of the components. Now coming to the types of material failure. There are generally two types of material failure in service. One is the easily recognized fracture or separation into two or more parts, and the second is the less easily recognized excessive plastic deformation or changing in shape. Excessive plastic deformation, the yielding followed by the yielding followed by the excessive plastic deformation that occurs when the elastic limit of the material has been exceeded. The welding produces permanent change of shape, which may prevent the part from functioning properly. In a ductile material, under condition of static loading at room temperature, yielding rarely result in fracture. This is because of the fact that the material strain hardened as it deforms and an increased stress is required to produce the further deformation. Failure by excessive plastic deformation is controlled by the yield strength of the material selected for a uniaxial condition of loading. For more complex loading condition, the yield strength is still the significant parameter. At temperature significantly greater than room temperature, materials no longer exhibit strain hardening. Instead, the materials can continuously deform at constant stress in a time-dependent manner, which is known as the creep. The failure criteria under the creep condition is complicated by the fact that the stress is not proportional to the strain. Further, the mechanical property of the material may change appreciably during the service due to the microstructural changes. Next is the fracture. The brittle fracture occurs at stresses far below the yield strength. The brittle structures are usually associated with flaws and are often catastrophic in nature, that is, occurs without warning. The brittle failures can occur in both brittle and ductile material under certain loading condition. High strain rates, triaxial stresses or low temperature can make a normally ductile material to behave in a brittle manner. In an ideal brittle fracture, all the energy is absorbed to create the new structure and none is absorbed for the plastic deformation. The brittle surfaces are often flat and shiny, with the little or no evidence for a deformation. The next one is a fatigue. Failure occurring under condition of dynamic loading are called the fatigue failure. A part can be subjected to various kinds of loading. Condition, including fluctuating strain, fluctuating temperature, or any of these in or without a corrosive environment. The failure under dynamic load in corrosive environments are referred to by the category of corrosion fatigue. Most service failure occur as a result of tensile stresses. Practically all fatigue failure start at the surface or near surface. There are three stages in a fatigue failure, that is crack initiation, crack propagation and the fracture. These stages are not completely separable. A fatigue failure is insidious because it occurs without any obvious warning. Fatigue results in a brittle fracture with no cross formation at the fracture point. The three basic factors necessary to cause the fatigue failure are tensile stress of sufficiently high value, a large enough fluctuation in the applied stress, a sufficiently large number of cycles of the applied stress. In addition, there are also a host of other variables such as stress, concentration, corrosion, temperature, overload, metallurgical structure and the residual stresses which influence the fatigue failure. The next is the corrosion. In general, corrosion is the deterioration of metal by the chemical action of some of the surrounding or contacting medium, which may be liquid, gas or some combination of these two. To some degree, corrosion can influence all the material, but the effect varies widely depending upon the combination of the materials and the corrosive agents. Corrosion affects material by direct chemical action, be electrochemical action, or more by the combination of these two. The effect of corrosion is always detrimental to the safe operation of critical components, assemblies and structures. So students, here we complete the defects that you can find out on the metal and their reason of the various types of defects. On the next class lecture session, we will discuss the various types of NDT methods and how to select them. So till then, stay at home and stay safe. Thank you so much class.